All right, do you hear me?
I can hear you, but it's not showing that it's going live. Okay.
I'll let you start.
Hey, hey, hey guys, I am so excited. Becky Thames here, and I'm going live in the Amazon FBA sellers e-commerce group. Guys, I have a very, very, very special guest with me today. I've sent out an email, I posted in the group, and so I want to introduce you to someone that went from working a corporate career to a mid seven-figure dollar Amazon business. So over $10 million in sales on Amazon. It's like, oh, that's every Amazon seller's dream, right? So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to John Elder. So John, can you come on and introduce yourself and tell us all
Yeah.
about your excitement?
Yes. So my story is kind of unique. I, you know, I graduated from University of Washington with a degree in construction management, and that was my dream job. I thought I was going to do that forever. And I always have to preface this. This is more commercial, so I'm working on high profile projects. So the one right after I graduated, I was working on the San Diego Airport project, and things were really intense. In construction, you're working easily 60 hours a week. You have multiple bosses, and it started to kind of become a grind. And I wasn't totally satisfied with, trying to work really, really hard for that 5% raise every year. And so I really wanted to, start looking at something where I can build on my own and produce a flow of income that is sustainable and allows flexibility with family and my personal time. So fast forward a couple years, I started researching in 2014 and really just started researching the basics of how Amazon FBA works. At that time, there weren't any really good blogs, very few coaches, people like that. So I was self-taught just through reading forums and just kind of a little slice here and there online, and started doing the research. Kind of, I think most sellers do it, but just going on Jungle Scout and looking and just perusing Amazon's listings and seeing if anything stood out. And then I actually jumped into the golfing space pretty quickly, just because I have a history of, I just love sports, and following my passion is just something that came naturally for this product, and found an opportunity that was, not, I call it like a strong double. It wasn't a home run, but it was definitely something that was low risk. And so when I sourced the product, it was $1 a unit, and so I did 250 units as my test order. And I really wanted to get my feet wet, doing everything from sourcing all the way to, getting my product to Amazon at their warehouse. And so I did that pretty much on my own, and was successful with that first product. And so thankfully, that product, gosh, probably took over the first spot on Amazon within a couple months. And part of that was, a lot of my research was based on, what were the other competitors doing at that time, and looking at the negative reviews and looking at different ways to innovate on the product. And so I solved some customer needs with my product. Definitely made it sexier in terms of the packaging. It was definitely an experience for the consumer to open up the package. And then that grew into quite a few variations. So there were color variations, and then that grew into a gift set listing, where it was just some bonus items that sold really well during like Father's Day and Christmas, things like that. And then I got I call it a little ADD, because I started launching products in a million different categories, because it was just, it was working. And so I got so excited and did that. It ended up in too many categories. And because I was stretched so thin, a couple of those categories did not work out. And so I kind of recentered, my vision for the business, probably about a year and a half in, and really focused on branding. and really focused on not launching a million different products, but launching products that fit the different brands. And so I ended up launching and had very successful brands in the kids toys category, um, office supplies, athletic goods that included workout equipment and some golfing, uh, different tools for golfing, and then also the men's leather goods category. So that just kept growing over time. And part of it is that I was able to invest almost 100% of the profits back into my business. So I was working my corporate job all the way until probably like late 2017, and then got an office in Dallas and started working full time at that point. But that's really, if I look back on time, how it grew so fast. I was using different forms of credit to infuse capital into the business, and then I was also reinvesting my profits into the business. Do you want me to go through like all the way to the end?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
I got some questions I'll ask you.
perfect. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so business is growing. In 2017, I almost went bankrupt. So, and the reason why that happened was I got cocky. I, had so much success so fast that I thought that I could launch, at that time I was probably launching 10 products in a month.
Wow.
And these are not cheap products. These are products that sell for over $100. So the sourcing costs are like $35 a unit. So we're dealing with huge amount of money. And I got myself in a position where a lot of the listings failed because the consumer base was not there. And so I didn't do my proper research, and I didn't stay with my mantra of, stay sustainable, do your proper research, and be conservative. And so I went outside of that lane a little bit, and I got myself into some big trouble. Didn't pay myself for a couple months, and I had to offload a lot of my inventory and sell at cost just to get my money back so I can, keep paying expenses off. At that time I had 2 employees. So of course, I have to pay their salary, and, that process took like 3 to 4 months to just get over that hump and get my cash flow in a better position.
Right.
So that was probably, I can safely say that was the most valuable lesson, is just being really conservative with product launches and not launching a bunch of stuff because you're overconfident. And so once I, found my roots again, I kept going, and then contacted a broker in late 2018 to kind of just get just get a feel for a valuation for my business. And he came back with the number that I actually had on my vision board when I first started this business. So I tell people, always think about what's your 5-year goal or your 10-year goal. For me, this was always kind of a 5-year goal. And I had an exit number, on a whiteboard. So everything I did in the business, down to keeping my bookkeeping really clean, having profit loss statements done every month, and keeping everything under one business entity. I did it that way on purpose to sell someday. So now that I'm talking to the broker, he gave me a number that he felt like the market could bring for my business. And I was blown away because it was my number on my vision board. So 100% started moving forward with the broker. That process took probably like a month to get everything over to him, everything from all the nitty gritty details of my business. And then I got listed January of 2019, and it took maybe like 2 months to get a buyer. And we had interviews, with different buyers. One was a private equity firm, 2 were private buyers who actually didn't have any Amazon experience. And then I ended up selling to the private buyer who didn't have any, when I say any, he has 0 Amazon experience.
Wow, nice.
And so, yeah, he's a, I would call a serial entrepreneur, and he just derives a lot of passion from just diving into a business he has nothing, no knowledge about, and learning it really fast. And so he was a great buyer. Part of my story too is the exit of my business took 8 months
Mhm.
from talking with the broker and getting it listed to selling. And the reason why is that the first bank pulled out and didn't give me any notice, didn't give me any reason. So now I'm like 3-4 months into the process. This is after due diligence, which the buyer can review all your financial statements to make sure there's
Right,
nothing
right.
you know hidden. And he found a second bank, and everything went well after that. But it was incredibly stressful to have your first bank, because he could have easily pulled out of the deal and said, you know what, the bank
Yeah,
pulled out, so they're scared of something, so now he's scared.
right.
But thankfully everything worked out and ended up selling September of 2019. um, and when I say sell, a lot of people get a little confused with this. Some people sell their entire business, and that includes their legal entity in their state. So this was an asset purchase. And so what that means is they purchased all of my brands and products and listings. They bought my Amazon account, and they bought all the trademarks and design patents that I had on my products. But the thing I kept was my LLC. And so that's very typical to do an asset purchase, because the buyer doesn't want the liability with the LLC. Because there's you do things in your business like pay sales tax to different states, and so a buyer is not going to want the liability of that
Right,
ownership of the entity.
right.
Yeah, so after that, I took a 6-month break. And actually, part of the story is traveling out to Virginia and training the buyer. And so I brought my wife and my son, and we just had a blast, going to different historical sites. And then we did some more traveling after that. Um, and so, yeah, here I am.
Nice. That's awesome. So I have to ask a question. You said you were married. So is your wife a risk taker?
No, she's really conservative,
Mhm.
very conservative.
So
Yeah.
when you were launching all these mini products, were you telling her or?
Yeah, I told her, I said, we're in a really bad, financial position right now,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to be able to pay ourselves. Thankfully, I had a robust cash, reserve on the side.
Right,
Um, but I definitely didn't go into the details of how bad it was,
right, right.
because it was really, really scary, really
Right.
scary. I mean, now she knows all the details, and she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?"
Yeah. It's like,
And
ah.
yeah, so I definitely told her that the business was in really bad shape, but I didn't go into, extreme detail about it.
Yeah. You know, my very first full month selling on Amazon, which was May of 2014, I had $35,000 in inventory. The product had already sold. So it was sitting there waiting for Amazon to pay me. And Amazon shut my account down. Like,
No way.
yeah. And so I had not told my husband, Big Papa, that I had spent $35,000 from
Oh,
our money. And he was like, and of course I had to tell him because Amazon held my money for 30 days because it was my fault. At that time, I wasn't using FBA. I was doing FBM. And I came
okay.
home and shipped 200 packages in
Oh,
one day with no tracking number. And as a new seller, Amazon was like, eh. So if you're watching me, do not do that. Always, always, always use a tracking number when
yes,
selling on
100%.
Amazon. But Big Papa is very conservative as well. So I had to go and tell him, hey, I did this, but don't worry, Amazon's going to pay us. And,
Yeah,
suspensions weren't thrown around like they are now. It was kind of like nobody talked about them.
yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
me, I was suspended. But had your account ever been suspended?
No, and I attribute that to just following Amazon's terms of service. And so from the very beginning, I definitely didn't want to do anything black hat
Right.
or even gray hat, because this is I wanted this to be a legitimate business to sell someday. And so I didn't want to have to say to a buyer down the road, yeah, I did this shady thing by hiring this company out of overseas, and got 1,000 reviews from who knows where. And so I definitely grew my business organically and didn't try to take loopholes or shortcuts.
Nice. So I have a group of new Amazon sellers, so they may not know what black hat and gray hat is. Could you just tell them what black hat and gray hat is?
Yeah, so like in the Amazon world, you have things like, you can go out and buy fake reviews for your listing. And so that's clearly black hat because they're fake reviews. Gray hat is like a category of things where Amazon is pretty silent on it, but Amazon may or may not punish a seller for it. So a good example of that is putting insert cards into your products. So I would say it's safe to simply ask for a review on insert card, but it's not safe to say, if you leave us a review, we'll send you this bonus item for free in the mail.
Right.
So that's kind of like you're getting into some weird territory where even the insert card can actually be a little dangerous. And so I used insert cards for, gosh, probably for a year. And then we got a warning,
Mhm.
and so I stopped all insert cards. And
Right.
so those little things don't dramatically affect your business. They definitely give you an edge for getting review counts up. But if you can do it organically and just focus on the quality of a product and let the product speak for itself, that's white hat. So I'm talking about only doing things like signing up for Amazon's early reviewer program, having your email autoresponder set up, but not ever mentioning, only if you had a good experience, please leave a review.
Yeah.
Like the language always has to be, please, I'm a small business owner, please leave an unbiased review of your experience with my product. That's a legitimate, compliant request. And so the whole goal is for any seller is to not try to manipulate people, because that is going to get you banned. If it's not in the next 6 months, you will get suspended. That's
Oh
just
yeah.
so a lot of guys are like, well, I've been running my business for a year, and I'm doing this black hat stuff and buying reviews, and I'm never going to get caught. I'm like, dude, you will definitely get caught.
Oh
There's
yeah. They will.
it,
Yes, and I'm all about doing everything ethically because what goes around comes around, and they will get caught. It might not be today, and it might not be tomorrow, but eventually
right.
they will, and they'll be the ones looking for someone to write the suspension letter for them,
Oh
to
yeah.
get their
Oh
account
yeah.
unsuspended. But I always say my Amazon account is so precious to me. Even I started out drop shipping. My very first sale on Amazon,
Okay.
$324.18 profit, but I would not drop ship today. I will not, because my account is
Oh
so important. Yes.
yeah.
So okay. So your very first, let's talk about your very first sale on Amazon. Did you start right with private label, or did you dabble in retail arbitrage? Let's talk about
So
that.
at the time, arbitrage seemed like a ton of work. I did not want to go to a store, drive around, try to find deals and list it. And also, I didn't want to fight with the buy box. I wanted my listing to be untouchable. And so by that, I mean, I didn't want any other seller on my listing. So
Mhm.
my listing is for myself and my factory and no one else. And
Okay.
so I went 100% FBA from the beginning, private label from the beginning. All my products were private label products, and really enjoyed that because once you get your trademark and branding, you get brand registry, and then you can start reporting hijackers and getting those guys kicked off in 24 hours. So just the ability to control my own pricing, control my own quality, also being proud of a brand that I launched and I grew is huge. Just there's just more pride in private label because your hands have designed and innovated on a product, and a lot of my products already existed, but I solved customer needs by just doing different tweaks on the product, or changing the design to make it look more attractive, or solving just common problems that you see on competitor reviews, and noticing that they're not innovating on their listing. And so that's an opportunity. And so those are the things that I definitely focused on.
Yeah. So what's your next steps? So I guess there was some type of clause that said you couldn't like non-compete clause or something.
Yeah, so that's common with a lot of these exits. These are fairly substantial exits, and so my exit was a mid 7-figure exit, and so for anyone listening, a non-compete clause is something that prevents you as the seller of the business from, launching into that product a day after you exit. So for my non-compete, there was a negotiation that happened because he wanted me to not be in the category at all. And a category in Amazon could be thousands of products.
Oh, yeah.
So I negotiated so the compromise that I ended up with was I won't compete with that specific product, but I will be able to sell, if I chose to down the road, other products in the category. So let's just take like a razor, like shaving razors, for example. So if I sold that in my business and now he owns my business for 5 years, I'm not allowed to sell any type of shaving razor.
Right.
So it's a 5-year term. After 5 years, I can launch into his exact same products if I chose to. That's pretty much the gist of a non-compete clause.
Okay, cool. So you said you went and trained him. Are you still working with him? It's been almost a year now.
That's another part of the contract. The buyer wanted a full 12 months of training, which is totally fair. That's kind of market average for exits. So it's intense training for 7 days. And then after the 7-day mark, the rest of the year is, phone calls as needed, emails. And what a lot of people don't think about is a lot is writing on the buyer being successful. So there's a contract called an earnout. So an earnout is a bucket of money that the buyer will only pay me if he hits a certain net profit each month.
Oh, nice. So it's in your best interest to help.
Yeah, and so to give you some context, so I sold last September. He just hit his earnout number a month ago.
Nice.
So, there was a learning curve, and every email, every phone call, I was on it because I wanted him to be successful. It's not like, I have to go train this guy more. It's, I want my earnout money.
Yeah. I'm going to get it. Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to go get it. And part of that is, whatever he needs, I'm going to be there for him to train him. So
do you feel that he is successful now with the business and pretty much can do it?
Yeah, in less than a year, he's hit his earnout number. So that's very successful in terms of these types of exits. I've heard terrible stories from other people who sold their business and bankrupted their business, and so they never saw that earnout money. And so he's doing very, very well. He's hitting his numbers, and he should be on track for, minimum 50% year-over-year growth. I think he'll probably hit over 100% year-over-year growth probably in 2021.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So do you think he's going to branch out into, like, if he's in the beauty niche, do you think he's well equipped to go buy other things in that niche?
Yes. So a lot of people ask me and they'll say, like, how did you get a multiple of 4.5, for your business? So part of that is you have to always put yourselves in the shoes of the buyer. So the buyer wants to know that you have a pipeline of product ideas that you were planning to launch that year when you're selling. Mm-hmm. So all of those ideas transferred over to the buyer. And so he's in the process of working through that pipeline of product ideas and launching those products to expand the brands. So he has a pretty strong pipeline just because I worked most of my time was focused on inventory forecasting and product launches. So he had a pretty healthy amount of new products that he could go with, and he actually has launched quite a few of those products.
Awesome. So did you do your own like PPC and things like that, or did you outsource it?
Yeah, so I actually outsourced my PPC. It's just taking up hours and hours of my time, and it was I was wasting money because I just couldn't track it 24/7. So I ended up using a PPC firm that specializes on Amazon, and that was a really smart move just because they're the experts. And I tell that to any of my clients I work with, just outsource your PPC and try to outsource it as soon as possible because those guys are so good.
Mhm.
and they just will grow your business in a way that you never thought was possible. So
Right.
I outsourced PPC to a firm, and I outsourced all of my logistics and customer service to a USA based employee, just
Mhm.
because I wanted perfect English. I wanted just the cultural element to be there. And then I also had a VA from overseas, just for different tasks. You know, if I needed a couple Excel spreadsheets number crunched, I would send it to her.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So what are you doing with your time now?
So training the buyer kind of led me down a road of, wow, this is kind of fun.
Mhm.
This is really interesting. So now I launched my consulting business 2 months ago, and I also was tired of seeing all these gurus with Lamborghinis on Facebook, and I'm like, there's got to be some services out there, and I didn't really find much. So I found myself in the spot of providing a need or
Mhm.
fulfilling a need.
Uh-huh.
And so I started 2 months ago, just keeping things just really transparent and honest with clients and helping
Mhm.
FBA sellers be successful, but never promising the moon. So that's what makes me a little different. Is I'm extremely authentic, and I'll be honest with somebody and just say that's not a good road for you to go down, and I advise you to go this way. So that's what I'm doing now. And then in 2021, my goal is to launch a made in America product, because I think it's going to be a trend that continues over the next decade or so. So that'll be exciting in itself, just to hit the market with a product based business again.
Yeah, that will be exciting. Are you going to create your own product with the mold or find something that's already?
I haven't decided yet. A lot of the times, when I was launching products, only one product needed a mold.
Mhm.
So a lot of the times, it was just tweaking things a little bit to make it better. But if it's truly a unique idea that deserves a mold, I'll definitely go down that road, just because I have experience with it now. And it's not as scary, like, oh, you have to work with your factory to get a mold. Molds are pretty easy to get. The key with molds is you need to have a strong contract set up with your factory, so they don't share that mold with another
Mhm.
factory. And then if that did happen, of course, you can always take that factory to international law. So it's one of those things that, I could go down that road. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about your spouse not being as much of a risk taker as you are. That was one of my questions. I really like the vision board. Can you talk a little bit about your vision board? And
Yeah.
whenever I talk to clients, I always say, hey, you need to start with the end in mind. So
Yeah.
talk to me about your vision board.
Yeah, and that was part of, I think, doing 6 months of research really helped, because I started from the very beginning all the way to the end and thinking, okay, I understand logistics, I understand sourcing from Alibaba, I understand how my products are sold at Amazon. I even looked online and looked at videos of how the fulfillment, looks inside of a warehouse, just
Uh-huh.
to get a better understanding of everything. Um, and I also wanted to research, how to, well, one, really, just figure out what my goal is with the business. And so my goal, I decided from day one, was I want to sell someday.
Mhm.
Um, it's just one of those things. If you have a really successful business and you can sell for a really strong multiple, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And then you can take those funds and start another Amazon business or invest in real estate. And so it just gives you lots of flexibility and freedom in your life. And so that was definitely something that I thought about at the time, and put a very specific number on a vision board, and circled it. And it was like it was just in front of me all the time.
Mhm.
And so a lot of my decisions in the business were always focused on that board. And of course, that board kind of splintered off into, different product ideas, but
Mhm.
that number was never erased. And so it was
Nice.
there the whole time. So I ran my business for a little less than 5 years, and hit the number that was on the board, and it was just amazing experience.
Nice, nice. You said you have one child?
Yeah, one, and then I have another boy on the way.
Oh, congratulations. How old is the one that you have?
He's 5.
Five. Okay.
Yeah,
So
he's
did he
excited.
help with your business? Like, did you enjoy them?
No, you know what? My wife actually helped with the business a lot, just with different designs and, looking at color templates and product ideas. One time I sold in the women's category for leather goods
Mhm.
and needed her help on that. And so she actually helped a lot with marketing and different ideas. So, and then my son, no, he's,
Pretty little. Yeah.
he wants to be outside playing with water and
Yeah.
yeah. So,
When I first started, my boys were 8 and 10, and I incorporated them in the business from day one. At one time, we were shipping supplements that time when I came home with 200 orders, and we formed an assembly line in our home for like one to put in the
wow.
supplement, one to put the feedback slip, the label, etc. And at that time, everybody was like, "What are you selling? What are you selling?" Because I believe in selling replenishables because that's where you get the monthly revenue.
Right.
And so my sons told little Alex, well, we're shipping medicine, but we're not allowed to talk about it. So Alex went home and told his mom that he was shipping medicine at Miss Becky's. So Miss Amy called me. I was like, no, Miss Amy, Miss Amy. And she was like, okay, I was just checking. So I'm a big believer of incorporating your children, but they were, like I said, older than your
Yeah.
little guy.
Well,
So
that's
that's
awesome. That's so
amazing.
great.
Yeah. So if any of my listeners want to get in touch with you, can you give me some contact info? How can
Yeah,
they find
definitely.
more info?
Definitely. So my consulting company is called blacklabeladvisor.com. And then you can also email me at John Elder, and it's JON ELDER at blacklabeladvisor.com. My website has a little bit about my story. It has a services page, but I really focus on FBA sellers only, who also are private label sellers. So retail arbitrage is not in my wheelhouse. So I've actually told people I can't consult you because I can't give you good advice for that. And so if someone is private label centered and focused on that, that's definitely something I can help with. And I work with my clients, gosh, ranging from guys who are, really established to guys who are, very new to the Amazon game. So just working on the fundamentals of what to look for in a product. I never pick a product for my clients, but I do give advice on the different products, they're looking at.
Okay.
And then all the way to an exit, just because I went through a really strenuous exit. That's something I can advise clients on as well. But there's more on the website.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Look, I don't see any questions here. If you have any questions for John, put them in the comments and I will definitely ask him. But I am super excited for you. I know as an Amazon seller myself, it's one of my dream goals. And I do have my number. I haven't circled it, so I need to go and circle it.
Yes.
I'm really big. I'll show you. I write everything in these red books. I have like two right here, like
Oh,
red
very
book, red
cool.
book. And it really works because if you think it, ink it. If you think it, ink
Yeah.
it, and then always.
Well, it just helps to, it helps to keep you focused. There's so many distractions with an Amazon business. And if you have something that's kind of guiding your decisions, it helps so much because, um, especially, with branding alone, a buyer does not want to see a million different products. He wants to see established brands with maybe 5 to 10 products under that brand. And so he wants to know that, customers on Amazon are going to remember your brand and come back to buy from you. And so that's something that, I transitioned to because I started thinking, what? I can't sell a million products. That's not going to make sense down the road. So that's where branding, started, and really focusing on what is the mission of that brand. And, if a product idea doesn't fit the mission of that brand, then obviously it doesn't get launched. So it really helped.
That's awesome. And speaking of branding, did you create accounts off of Amazon? Did you have a Facebook page,
Yes.
Instagram?
Yep. So I had, let's see, 3 brands had dedicated Instagram and Facebook accounts. I also hired a marketing firm to drive sales from social media to Shopify websites. That was actually decently successful. Like if you look at my sales, the 10 million I did, 5% came from Shopify. So that's 5% of sales that I didn't have before I started with Shopify. So it also kind of shows you that Amazon controls the market, and that's just the reality of our times right now.
Right.
But I definitely recommend Shopify as a task for sellers to do that as well. I wouldn't say focus on that. You'd have to have a product that really is suited for Shopify websites to really focus all of your attention on that instead of Amazon.
Mhm.
Amazon is just an incredible platform and workhorse. You need to be focused on your branding, on your listing. So that's enhanced brand content, doing a video production for your listing, things like that are just huge, and that's where all the buyers are. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I do see a couple of questions here. How did you start out leveraging your money?
so I started out with $5,000 in cash, and that led to as you make more and more revenue, banks start seeing that, and so I got a loan with Cabbage, and so it's a very common line of credit for people. They do up to $100,000 loans. So that line just kept growing over time. And then I also had a substantial credit line through Chase Bank. And that's how I started kind of leveraging really low interest debt. And then another tool, probably 2.5 years in, I got offered a pretty substantial loan through Amazon. And that loan started getting bigger and bigger as my business grew. And then I shifted actually to only doing Amazon loans and only using my Chase line of credit as needed. So
Right.
my last 2 years of doing business, all my leverage credit was through Amazon actually.
Nice, nice. Okay. Yeah, I saw recently, I think Cabbage was just absorbed by American Express.
Oh, no way. Wow.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay.
I was like, wow, good for Cabbage. So they did a sellout as well.
Wow. Yeah, I guess they did.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were making bank though with their
They
loans.
were they were a great company. I have zero complaints about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then another question, how soon after you started did you take a salary?
Let's see. That was probably about 2 years in. So my just to give the viewers some background. My first year on Amazon, I did 135,000 in revenue. My second year, I did right around 1 million, and then my third year, I did 3 million, and then it just kept. My 2018 peak was 6.5 million, and so that's kind of the progression of the sales.
That's pretty good progression.
Yeah, the goal was always 100% year over year growth.
Uh-huh.
And obviously from my first year to my second year, it was 1,000%. That's just from the huge injection of capital
Right.
from my bank. And so that definitely boosted the business in a way that, I wouldn't be able to do with, my personal funds. And I think the question was salary. So salary, I started paying myself a very, very modest salary. I think it was only like maybe like $1,000 or $2,000 a month.
Mhm.
I just felt like, I kind of deserved some profit for myself at that point. But again, just being conservative by nature, I wanted to invest at least 80 to 90% of my profits back into the business. And then that salary grew just naturally over time. And, 2018, it'd be pretty much matching, my job that I had in the construction market. So a pretty like a healthy salary, that was the same as my day job, because a lot of people take too much out of their business, and then they get into just a bad situation with credit and debt, and then they're just in the hole and they can't get out.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And I see that a lot as well. And I'm like, don't take any money.
just wait. Yeah, just
And
wait.
additional capital helped you reach your sales numbers, or did the marketing agency contribute?
The marketing agency, they were only focused on Shopify sales. So they only contributed to the 5% of my total sales. So the other 95%, I did on my own on Amazon. But a huge part of that is actually the PPC company that I used. So, and I'll just tell your viewers, it's a PPC Strike. They're a great PPC company. I recommend them to people. And so what they do is, they're basically kind of like the gurus of PPC. and they just took all my advertising in a totally different direction and grew my business through PPC in a way that I didn't think was possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have some clients that have a funny haha product. So when they advertise like on Facebook or something, they get all the clicks because it's funny, but then they don't get the sales.
Right, right.
And it's like, I mean, what kind of advice would you give them?
That's a tough one. I actually tell people to not do those types of products.
Yeah.
But I really encourage people to focus on products that are evergreen. And so I always tell people to avoid seasonal products. I know it's tempting, you see those numbers for different decorations for Halloween, but
Mm-hmm.
just don't do it, because you're going to end up sitting on inventory the rest of the year, and then you're going to start incurring storage costs. So really what you want to focus on are products that they might not be the coolest and most hip products, but they're products that sell every single day, all year long, and hopefully get a pretty good bump during Christmas. That will really keep you safe in terms of cash flow in your business, and allowing you to forecast with ease for purchase orders. Because I was doing purchase orders every 2 months.
Wow.
And these are containers on a boat, so this
Yeah.
is like big stuff. And so if you know your sales and know that you have evergreen products, it really, really helps. So yeah, I would just advise to not go down those paths, because those products, unless they can be branded, are really, really tough. They're really, really tough.
Yeah. Keisha, I see that you're watching. I would highly recommend that you reach out to John, because you have an amazing brand and he could probably take you to the next level with yours. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. And one more time, John, what's your info for them?
So my website is blacklabeladvisor.com. And you can contact me at johnelder@blacklabeladvisor.com. And I forgot to actually share the story with you. So when I started my consulting firm a couple months ago, I wanted it to be related to private label, and that's where the label in my name is from. But Black Label is something that comes from the whiskey industry, and it's just something that I enjoy to drink once in a while. And Black Label is typically very elitist, and so that's they only do small batches of that. And so my services are definitely dedicated towards you're never gonna be handed over to an employee that's never done something on Amazon. So, whenever I'm working with my clients, it's me. I don't have employees, and I only take on a certain number of clients, just so I don't get stretched too thin. So that's part of the story behind the name. Is Black Label Advisor is someone who's actually dedicated to your business.
Oh, that's cool. Can you spell advisor? Because I know sometimes it ends in ER
Yep.
or OR.
Yep. ADVISOR.
OR. Okay. So blacklabeladvisor.com
Yes.
with OR. Okay, cool. Let me see if there's any other questions.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching. This has been so much fun. I want to make sure I wasn't skipping any questions. Okay. I don't see any, but John, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Becky.
Spending time with me, and I'm going to email this out to my list as well. And so
Awesome.
I wish you much success with your consulting business. I love helping people. And if you put that first, helping people, you will do very, very well in the consulting business.
Definitely. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.